Hello and welcome to this episode of the GRT Link Live. I'm Eric Matei, hanging out with Dr. Paul Mormon and Dr. Pete Van Hoven, GRT Summit. Dr. Mormon, Dr. Van Hoven, how are things going here? It's mid-May. We've got GRT Summit 2024 coming up here in September. A lot of exciting things going on in eye care. Good evening. How are things?
Well, great, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic. Well, look, let's go ahead and jump into it. I know we've got a lot of really great things we're looking to jump into in this episode of GRT Link Live, as we're going to be talking about efficiency in the modern practice, and also, how to go about hosting a successful, impactful frame show, which is a wonderful opportunity out there for many practices. But I suppose I'll go ahead and start by handing it over to Dr. Mormon. Any updates on what we got in store for GRT Summit 2024?
And no official updates. Just we're getting lots of very engaged vendor friends that are. You'll hear from some of them on the webinar or the webcast tonight, and you'll see our vendor page. We just have tons of vendors. We love having all them. They love the support they give us. We're not able to put on this meeting, frankly, without their support. And we want to do a lot to support our friends who are helping make this possible. This is the third installment of the GRT Summit coming up. So as I put on one of my posts, one of our attendees said it always feels like a family reunion. So hope everybody is looking forward to our third family reunion, and we're filling up fast with attendees and ODs. So if you haven't done it yet, go to www.grtsummit.com. You can register right on the website.
Yeah, really, really exciting. Really exciting to see right now with the opportunity in private practice eye care, right? Independent optometry. We have this growing public health need for vision, medical, specialty eye care, and the opportunity in private practice optometry is absolutely remarkable. And Dr. Mormon, Dr. Van Hoven, what do you say we go ahead and maybe I know we have a couple of our vendor friends hanging out backstage. Maybe we'll have somebody join us here.
Yep, we'll let's just go ahead and get going, Eric. We got a lot of good stuff to cover. We're going to kind of focus a little bit more on the frame sale, more or less, because we just had one and can't tell you how impactful it was to our practice. And everything that I know about frame sales, I learned from Pete. So I'm going to really let him take the lead on that, because they've been doing it for multiple years and have had successful frame shows, lots more successful than any of ours have ever been. But I want to just take a second just to recognize all of our vendors who are basically have signed up to be on at our summit. A lot of returning ones, some new ones. So Spexy, Dr. Contact Lens, as always, Acrinos, who's one of our founding partners, Barty, LKC Technologies with their Retival, Avalux, a very exciting new company that's making migraine lenses for patients that suffer from migraines. I can't say I have favorites, but one of my favorites is Bagia. I said it wrong again. Dadgummit. Sunglasses, which we'll talk about, a new independent line that's going to be hitting independent opticals all over the U.S. very, very fast as they take over the market of independent eyewear in the sunglass realm. Royal's come on board to help manage our website and to help us with marketing. Regenerize is a new one we're going to talk about. They're going to have a very important role in one of our business enhancement sessions. Science-based health, Scope Health, which are both returning vendors. We're excited to have Mark on with New Lids. He's going to be talking in a little bit. Returning Mike Valenti with Tear Care will be back this year. New vendor All Eyes, which we've heard about for many years, but they're going to be at our summit this year. We're looking at having a little impactful session on not only with your frame sales and trunk shows, but also we're going to have a session at the summit utilizing our frame vendors, Moto and Bevel, Mackie Health, which is back, Practice Pal, Jen Denham, one of our faves, she'll be back, and Nerlens, who was with us from the start. So we're so appreciative of the guys over at guys and gals over at Nerlens for supporting us from the get-go.
Absolutely. And again, it really all ties back to the fact that independent eye care, independent optometry is at the forefront of full scope modern eye care communities all over, and considering all these really novel ways that doctors have to serve patients. It's really exciting pulling everybody together in the context of GRT Summit. And I gotta say, Paul, it's really cool to be in this number here in the context of Acrinos, and really seeing this, how GRT Summit has flourished and has evolved in 2024. Really exciting things on the horizon. So are we going to go ahead and jump into some of these slides, or how did you want to roll with this?
Yeah, let's go into the slides. I'm just going to give everybody a review of kind of what's to expect at the summit. So GRT Summit is September 4th through 8th this fall in Estes Park, Colorado. So Estes Park is the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park. So we're going to be right down in the small community of Estes Park, doing all of our CE and our business sessions and our a lot of our group dinners and some of our community and connection-based events. So we're real excited to be headed to Estes Park and another national park, just for the third year in a row. This year, trying to do it in the middle of the country where we can access ODs from all across the United States. Really easy to get to Denver. And as always, the GRT Summit, what it's all about is a concierge-based meeting. So all you have to do is get to the airport in Denver. We take care of the rest. So we'll be there to pick you up from the airport, shuttle you to Estes Park, and then we'll have shuttles to take us to our events and our adventures. So really, it's just a easy meeting to just, unwind at. You just buy your plane ticket and we'll take care of the rest from there.
Absolutely. I know there's some really exciting things lined up. We start to jump into kind of the day-to-day agenda. It's this really great, healthy balance of, CE, collaborative breakouts, a bit of nature and stuff. So why don't we jump into some of the play-by-play here?
Yeah. So day one, it's kind of a flex day. So there's a couple of different things you can do. So day one will be Wednesday. And so we're doing something new this year. We're going to have a CE day if you would like to get 8 hours of COPE CE on that Wednesday. So we're going to have some people, just local docs in Colorado, attend the event too, that may or may not stick around for the summit, but at least they'll be able to join us and get a taste of what GRT Summit is all about. The CE on that day will be provided by Dr. Cecilia Coating and Dr. Blair Lonsbury. So that is option number one for the day. Everybody that wants to come in for the GRT Summit and wants to attend the CE day needs to arrive Tuesday afternoon, evening. The other option is if you want to do an extreme adventure hike with Eric and I and Pete and several of our members, GRT folks that have already signed up, we'll arrive on Tuesday also, and we'll get up and watch the sunrise as we hike up Flat Top Mountain. We'll go over to Hallett Peak, Mount Otis. We'll come down and we'll actually skirt a glacier right there in the national park, passing by a bunch of high alpine lakes like what you see in the picture here. That's going to be for the extreme adventurers. So when I say extreme, it doesn't mean, dangerous or anything like that. It just means, hey, you want to get a little more adventure than just hiking a 2 to 3 mile hike or riding a horseback on a big stallion through the meadows and forged streams of Rocky Mountain National Park. It's just a lot of fun. Eric didn't do it the first year. He got to do it last year, and I think he'd agree he missed out the first go round. And then if you just want to go to the come to our traditional meeting, just arrive Wednesday. All that information is on the website and the registration. We'll start right in with an opening reception and a dinner on site at the hotel, the meeting hotel, and that's kind of the official start of the GRT Summit.
Yeah, and it's really exciting to have the addition of some really great continuing education, Dr. Kedding, Dr. Lonsbury, right up there in Colorado. So really exciting, kicking it off. If you're looking for some great high quality continuing education, GRT Summit has got it. Of course, you won't see me in the CE. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to be out there ready to hit the trails. With Paul, Pete, and the crew doing the pre-adventure hike, and to that end, you can do that extreme adventure and do the horseback ride. You can still kind of do all this stuff.
Yeah.
GRT. So, all right. So that was just day one. So day two, what we got?
Yeah, you'll see these days are action packed, and even though it looks a lot alike, or it looks like a lot of stuff, we have downtime too. So we're not just going, nonstop the whole time. We do have some time just to rest, relax, enjoy each other, have conversations, enjoy a fire pit, roast some marshmallows, play the guitar, sing along around the fire. We implemented that last year with Dr. Joe's daughter, which was a lot of fun. But anyway, so start day two. We're going to get up and we're going to have some CE provided by Dr. Tim Early. He was a first time attendee last year. Couldn't wait to get back there this year. So we're excited to have Tim Early there doing some CE. We're going to have some business enhancement sessions. That's kind of how we make this different and make it more interactive with our vendor friends. Is we stop and have these sessions where it's all made about making your office more efficient, increasing revenue, helping with billing and coding. We just talk about a whole lot of things that you can take home and implement right away into your practice to make yourself more successful. So the first session we're going to have on day two is called Cleanse, Heat, Express, and Treat for Patient Success. So, you can all figure out this is all around dry eye. So we're going to have our vendors engaged with this presentation: Science-Based Health, Optace and Regenerize, Tear Care. Obviously, they're involved in that heat and expression phase. And one of our new vendors this year, New Lids, which is all about cleansing the eye before we can do all these other things. So obviously we got to cleanse our ocular surface and eyelid margins before we can really effectively do the rest of it. So I'd like to let Mark come on and talk about New Lids and what they offer and can provide, not only us doctors, but patients too.
Thank you so much. Really great to be part of this great group. So we really appreciate it. So New Lids was, the company was formed and the product was invented by an ophthalmologist, Dr. John Olkowski, who's a corneal specialist. He really invented this electric toothbrush for your eyelids out of necessity as a way to get a high degree of both effectiveness and compliance with patients who were categorically unhappy and usually had very poor compliance with existing products. And this was several years ago. And so this little package here is a home version of New Lids. We sell them generally through practices. From a clinical data perspective and real world experience perspective, we actually believe it's one of, if not the best available product for symptomatic dry eye. I don't really talk about it that much anymore. It's sold through hundreds of practices. And the reason why is we figured something else out a few years ago in talking to a practice that had literally sold more than 1,000 of them to their patients with great success. It makes it very easy for a practice to not have to invest in lots of equipment or complex processes or staff to really just make it available to their symptomatic patient. But what we learned was some of the factors around how Newlands works, meaning it's so fast, easy, comfortable, safe, hygienic, meaning it's low speed oscillation, so there's no micro splatter. It's done on a closed eye, and most importantly, incredibly inexpensive. And so it was really at the behest of a few practice partners that we created our professional version, which has some differences in the product, including using treatment packs. And what we found was, if you combine that with recent data, which is out there regarding the fact that there's about 16 million people with diagnosed dry eye. And I think most people would say that's an underdiagnosed figure. But with the recent Trattler et al. Study, up to 60% of adults are walking around with what we would call pre-symptomatic inflammation in the form of Demodex blepharitis. That would be about 150 million adults. That's about 2/3 almost of all the patients in your office who show up. But something that's not really discussed in that population is that they really are generally asymptomatic, or at least they think they are. And what that means is, we believe they are going to be hesitant to signing on to a $1,500 IPL or a $900 thermal pulsation, or even an $800 copay for a latest greatest RX. Not that those aren't wonderful products, they are. But for the vast majority of people that are not very symptomatic, that's a tough sell. And the beautiful thing about Newlands is most of your patients need this. They need some level of eyelid cleaning. Newlands, because it's 2 to 3 minutes, done by your tech, it's incredibly easy, it's incredibly comfortable for the patient. We can get the cost down to about $6 per patient treatment to the practice with almost no upfront investment. And so the practice has an immediate ROI. And when you consider the number of patients that frankly need this, it has two benefits. One, it helps the patient immediately. They're going to feel better right away. It's going to open them up to more treatment because they're going to realize they were more symptomatic than they appreciated. And it's going to open them up to seeking care in a way that they wouldn't have before. And it's a very disarming way because you don't have to sell them a $1,500 treatment. You can do a $50, $75 Newlands right at the time of the eye exam. And so that builds also trust with the patient. So it's great for the patient. It's an incredible immediate ROI revenue grower for the practice. And we think it sets the table for practices to easily get into what we would consider to be the precursor to dry eye, which is an enormous unmet need right now. Two things I would mention are in cataract and refractive surgery today, just recently, Dr. William Wiley, who's the chief medical editor, advocated for the dental model in eye care, meaning that we don't just show up to the eye doctor for, we don't just show up to the dentist for cavities. We show up for preventative care. We really need to make that part of eye care. And then similarly, Dr. Joseph Allen, Dr. Eye Health came out with a great video recently about that as well on iTube. So I would leave it at that. I think we uniquely fit an incredible patient opportunity and practice opportunity to introduce preventative care incredibly efficiently and profitably.
Thank you, Mark.
You bet.
So some exciting stuff that we can obviously do in the office, but then also sell the units to patients, correct? So they can do it on their home and
yeah, exactly. Like I said, I don't talk about this one anymore because it ends up being the cart behind the horse. And I think once the practice sees Newlands, uses it, the patients experience it, the practice realizes how easy it is. Then a lot of patients will ask for this. They'll realize, wow, that felt great. You know what? I might be more symptomatic than I realized. Can I get one of these things? Absolutely. And now the practice is very comfortable either having some inventory to sell or frankly, just prescribe it. We fulfill it and send the practice a fee. But we don't have to really push this. It's really a pull now because the uniqueness of what the Pro does is such that it just opens that door in a very easy way for the practice and a very disarming way for the patient.
Awesome. And I think we'll expand on this even more at the summit where we're going to talk about, well, obviously step number one is cleansing the eyelid. And, until you cleanse the eyelid, you can't really treat it and get it expressed. So it'll be step one of our session on lid hygiene and eye hygiene. And, for all kinds of things, as you were saying, whether they're buying a new pair of glasses, they're going to have cataract surgery, whatever it may be. We want them to have the best possible outcome with surgery or the vision care needs that we are meeting for them. So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mark, can't wait to see you in Colorado.
Likewise. Now looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mark.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay. So day two, get back here to the, toggling around. There's so many. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That was actually pretty quick. It was pretty smooth toggling around. All right. So day two, kicking off. Got some CE, got some business enhancement sessions. We were touching on, Dr. Mormon, you were just referencing the whole cleansed heat express treat for patient success session in the AM.
Yeah. So, and we'll go right in after that into office efficiency and the modern OD practice. One thing we can all agree on is that, we are looking for ways to make the practice flow better without necessarily hiring more people. So there's all kinds of things that we can do. And Pete and I handpick all these vendor friends because we think they're the most impactful to a independent eye care practice to make it be more efficient. So we'll have a session including the following vendors just on how they can help us and not only help us be more efficient, but also better serve our patients. So Roy is a new vendor with us, as I was mentioning. They're going to have an option for everybody for website development, better reach to your patients, just better way to get your patients involved in your practice also. Our good friend Jen Denham with Practice Pal helping to not only pull insurance, medical insurance and vision plan benefits, but also in working with patients in the optical and various other aspects of the practice. We met Colton Calandrella with Barty a couple of years ago when Eric and I were out in San Francisco area for an event that he put on. I can't even remember what that was called now exactly, Eric, but it was, we went out to, to view the Zeiss headquarters, and just, it was a great event. And since Colton's based in the Bay Area, he met us there and we talked to him. We hit it off right off the bat. So we ultimately wanted to include him right away. Barty is a new EHR, which if you've seen some of my posts, they're incorporating AI into their EHR. So it's going to be kind of a novel introduction to the EHR space. And Pete and I are going to be working with Barty on a scheduling type software that's going to be built into Barty. That's going to be really impactful for online scheduling that nobody else has. All Eyes, which is a VR headset, which just has a multiple number of functions. And I wish they could have joined us tonight, but I think they will join us next time. I can't explain all the stuff that they do. We have this in our office, so does Dr. Roten. So it's just a great piece of equipment to have to make your office more efficient. Redival with from LKC, which does it does a scan for diabetic retinopathy, does scan for just it's a ERG-ish handheld ERG that you can do in your practice and get a quick and easy assessment of how much diabetic retinopathy may be affecting the patient that we're not understanding through VAs and retinal signs and symptoms of that. Neuralens, which has their new N3, which was so cool that they introduced it unofficially at our meeting last year, but their new VR headset, which takes it away from being a piece of equipment that has to take a footprint in your exam room or in your pretest area. It's just something that can be just put on and tested right in the lane with the patient. So we're excited to have Neuralens back with us. After all that great stuff, now we get to the really, really fun stuff where we do our group at Outdoor Adventures. And that's where we split up into different groups and we go do different things out in the park. So whether that be fly fishing, riding ATVs, taking a horseback ride through the park. This is actually my daughter on the horseback that we did when we were out there a couple of years ago. kind of looking as this is at Estes Park as a potential site. We're going to do a Stanley hotel tour, which I think Pete's wife is going to lead because she loves that kind of stuff. We're going to kind of do the haunted tour of Stanley Hotel, which was the inspiration for Stephen King's novel, The Shining. Then we're going to have 2 hikes. So you can either do kind of a easy relaxation hike up to some of the high alpine lakes, or we're going to do more of a summiting hike, which is Deer Mountain, where you can go to the top of Deer Mountain and get a 360-degree view of the park. Neither one of those are really extreme adventures, but just some fun stuff to do. Bird and Jim's is one of the famous restaurants out there in Estes Park. So we're going to do our group dinner there in their private room. Just going to have a lot of fun. One of the owners is always there, so they said they'd come in and, do some entertainment with us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Day 2, I think just every day is got its uniqueness to it. Each day is going to be fun and exciting.
Fantastic. And it was a little quick there.
So
day 3.
Yeah, day 3. I mean, I have to say, I don't know if I could pick a favorite, but this is probably one of my favorite days because we bookends with a sunrise hike, which we'll do on the Ute Trail, and the top picture is a picture of a sunrise where we'll go watch the sunrise on the Ute Trail. Down the bottom is where we're going to do our sunset event. So we'll wake up early, get out there early. We'll get out, leave the hotel when it's still dark, get out on the trail on first light to where we can get out to this vista to watch the sunrise. We'll just do some pictures and, just kind of have some inspirational kind of talk that morning. We'll come back, shower up, go down and do some CE. Dr. Brianna Rue will be doing some CE. And also she'll be involved in our one of our business enhancement sessions, which is adding a specialty contact lens center. So that'll be centered around myopia management, which is near and dear to Brianna, and then also some talk about scleral contact lenses, and hope to have Cooper Vision involved with that. Haven't got them officially signed up, but I'm kind of doing a little pressure on them, passive pressure on them to get signed up for the meeting. But also we'll do creating a high revenue optical and optimizing patient loyalty, which we're going to have Spexy, Kayla Ashley kind of lead that. And we'll work in our other vendors that are going to be there. I'm going to say Baggio because I still don't remember how to say it. Bevel, Moto, we'll talk about Neuralens and Avalux. Our sunset event is going to be really cool. We ride a bunch of UTV type vehicles up to this peak called Panoramic Peak. We're going to go up there and do a cookout and just kind of roast marshmallows, do a bunch of fun stuff up there, watch the stars come out. Then we'll head down after that back to the hotel. So that's day 3. Man, it keeps getting better and better, doesn't it, Eric?
Absolute jam-packed day. And you mentioned there in the context of business enhancement sessions, Dr. Brianna Rue is going to be joining us. And actually, so Brianna's backstage. I know she was a bit late getting here, but she says so incredibly busy.
Hi guys. Bedtime at the Passel household. But excited to be here.
Well, if these things are one thing, they're super casual. So any kid can photobomb or do whatever they want.
Love it.
But you just got to bring them with you to Estes Park now.
Will do. No, I'm excited to be back in my home state in Colorado, and then also presenting. Hey, listen, presenting on myopia management, which this little guy behind me got me into, to really share on how that's really changed my practice, changed my family, and changed really my outlook on optometry. And one thing I'd like to add, Paul, I like how we're getting in really the dry eye space. I saw kind of in 2020 where you went down one of these paths. You chose the myopia path or you chose the dry eye path. And I don't think you need to choose a path. I think both of them come together very nicely. It's kind of a rinse and repeat. And we have to remember at the end of the day, in our practices, we're serving a community. So if you kind of pigeonhole yourself into one of these specialties, you're forgetting about a very large subset of your patients.
Very well stated. And I shouldn't segment them out. You know, the hope is that our attendees that come to this meeting take everything back and do all of this.
Exactly.
So, I mean, because this is where we talk about bringing in associates. What we always do when we bring in an associate, we make them the specialist of something in our office. So, you know, my partner is the scleral lens specialist. One of our newest associates, she's doing myopia management. I mean, we all do it, but I try to bring them in and help them get, you know, assimilated to the practice and get some, you know, build up their practice by making them the specialist of our practice in that, regardless if they are any better at fitting any of the lenses than any of the other doctors. We just try to pose them that just to help them get kick-started into our practice.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what lends itself to this meeting is just kind of not looking at vendors as vendors and attendees as attendees, just kind of the industry as itself. So that's what's been fun for me. And obviously here with Dr. Contact Lens is that's a huge avenue that we're forgetting that really drives patients in. So when we talk about efficiencies and how we can grow things, we look at kind of these low margin things. That's not how we should look at it. Again, it's serving the whole practice, it's serving the whole community, it's serving the whole patient behind everything. And at the end of the day, that's really your raise. It's how you pay yourself, or these little things that come in that add up to big things. So I love this kind of summit and how it all comes together.
We're excited to have you there.
Excited to be there.
So Eric,
I'm sorry, y'all. I stalled out on the controls.
That's great. Yeah, obviously you can see why.
Navigate around.
Yeah, obviously you can see we love Brianna's passion, and we love that she's going to bring that to Colorado with us. So now, since we kind of jumped into talking with Brianna, I want to give Miranda and Renato the chance to introduce us to Baggio. You know, as I like to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miranda, were we the first optical in Tennessee to have them?
You are in Memphis, Renato. I think there's one in East Tennessee, isn't there? I'm West, so tell me more about East. Was he the first?
No, sorry, I was on mute. Second optical. I'm sorry, but that's okay. That's
very close.
Yes. That sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we brought him in right before our frame set, which we'll be talking about in a second. And I said, well, let's just put them all out on the table. So it was great to showcase them right out in front as people were walking in. Not that y'all were an official frame partner, frame vendor for our frame show, but we sold a bunch during our frame show no matter what. So we were excited to bring you guys in, regardless if we weren't the first. Hopefully we'll be the best. We're not the first.
You were my first, so that's exciting for me. Yeah.
Yeah, your first number one and number two, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, please tell us more about your company and how you're different by being independent, and how you're different by serving independent practices, because that's what we're all about at GRT.
So I'll jump in there, and it's we're a brand new sunglass company. We launched in 2021. So we're starting our fourth year right now. We're independent, employee owned, rapidly growing. We started off just to the outdoor space, fishing, tackle, surf, outdoor stores and things like that. Now that we have a full prescription program, our brand emphasizes in terms of, you know, what we really strive to do is provide exceptional customer service, because people expect it, along with meticulous manufacturing and assembly processes in Florida, because we make everything there. So we have a full Plano prescription, finishing department, and we showcase a commitment to domestic production. We have decades of experience in the optical, sport, outdoor space, etc. I love the sunglasses. Nice touch. Um, what we really want to also make sure is that as an independent brand, what we also strive to do coming out to the market brand new is to try to be a leader. So we launch with a radically clear lapis polarized technology, which is lapis is our brand name for our technology, but it's a patented technology. So what we try to do is make sure that we educate our practices on all the features and benefits that's in it. There's a lot. We provide limited lifetime warranty for plano and prescription, because these are designed. They're not, inexpensive, rack sunglasses. People pay $250 for plano. They pay $500 to $700 for prescription, which I think can be quite common. But we back it up. We back it up for something that can be used in a very rugged outdoor environment. It was built for the water, but we're quickly also becoming a lifestyle brand as well. Everything's polarized, and everything that we make is available on every lens we make. We have 7 lens filter options that are available. I saw you have fly fishing there. So fly fishing is near and dear to our hearts, as well as any type of fishing, but we make a lens for every environment. And whether you're fishing or not, you'll find something that you can use for everyday purposes. And I think that the other thing that we try to do is try to make, when you talk about efficiencies in selling, our price model is really simple. There's only 2 prices that you have to remember. Whether it's plano or whether it's prescription, you only have 2 prices. There's not all this a la carte, add the coating, add the mirror, add this. It's you hand the prescription off to the person who's going to help the patient to select their eyewear. Whatever they pick, the price is already, it's single vision. I know what the price is going to be. Let's just pick what you like. No matter what lens you end up with, no matter what frame you end up with, the price is set. It's single vision. It's that simple. So we try to keep that. Having spent a lot of time in retail, we know that the sunglass sale is not the first sale. It's often the second. You spent probably 45 minutes to an hour working on the first one. They spent a good half hour in the exam room, or around that time. And they don't want to spend another 30 minutes trying to pick out a sunglass and have it be an a la carte thing. And it's just like, we try to make it real simple and easy. So you can cut to the chase and make their lives easy as well as yours. So that's a little bit about us. We're, like I said, based in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. If I didn't say where in Florida, for those of you that don't know where it is, it's just 30 minutes south of Daytona Beach. So it's a really, really cool place. It's a surfing capital of Florida, sort of like Cocoa Beach is, but a lot of fishing that goes on and a lot of water sports and fun. And of course, Miranda's here with me. She's our Mississippi and Tennessee sales representative, and also Southern Louisiana as well. So she covers a lot of geography. And we've got representation for many of the states in the Southeast and the Midwest and the North and Northeast as well. So thank you for having us. And we're looking forward to being part of the GRT to grow, retain, and transition. I love it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And we're going to keep this under the wraps, but I just want to give everybody a little teaser that one lucky attendee that attends the GRT Summit will get a special gift from our newest and greatest frame vendor out there. So that should be enticing enough just to want to come out there.
Yes, indeed.
We'll move
Fantastic.
on. Yes, thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us. All right.
Of course. We'll move on to day 4, I guess it is now, right? Or...
Yeah. Really exciting things going on. I tell you that new line, absolutely marvelous stuff. Can't wait to see it. All right, so day 4.
Yep. So day 4 will be another CE day. We'll have 2 hours of CE provided by Dr. Bradley Grant. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. I've talked to him several times about doing it. He wants to do it. He was just clearing his schedule. But this is really cool because Dr. Bradley Grant was an extern of mine in my office. And then he moved to Middle Tennessee and worked and was one of Pete's colleagues for many years before he moved back to his home state, and runs about 3 or 4 offices now in the Wisconsin area. So we're hopefully that's going to be, I don't think we're going to have any problems with that, but y'all really enjoy Dr. Brad Grant. Young guy, very energetic, very smart guy too. So after CE, we're going to have some more business enhancement sessions. Just what I'm going to title is as simply as grow, retain, transition. That's going to be provided by GRT team. And what I mean by that is whoever wants to be involved can be involved in it. It's going to be a big round table about sharing best practices on how to grow your office, retain your key patients and key staff members, and then transition. So we'll all throw that in. Secondly, it's going to be measure practices metrics for success. Eric's going to lead this. He may change it or put his own little spin on it, but Eric's going to lead that. We always, garner a whole lot of information for Eric. So we're looking for some great content from him. We'll be back in the national park doing another set of group adventures. So when you register, we ask you to register for 3 because, and to kind of grade them as 1, 2, or rank them as 1, 2, or 3, because we want to be able to give everybody their adventure. Sometimes we might have time for 3, depending on what it is. Sometimes your 3rd might be just, hey, I want to go hang out at some breweries, and we can pair you up with some people that want to do that too. Then we'll do a group dinner somewhere in Estes Park. Still trying to finalize that location. I've got a couple feelers out for those, but we'll do something really cool, something really memorable. And the thing about these group dinners is just so cool is that we kind of move people around, so you're not always sitting with the same people. So you're meeting everybody that's at these meetings, and hopefully they're giving you feedback on, hey, how great the meeting was last year, or hey, what they brought into their office and implemented. This is a Stanley Hotel on your right, so it's a really cool historical hotel. Got a bunch of big grounds. It's kind of like a museum almost too. So that's going to be a neat adventure. That's going to be more casual, a little bit more requires less exertion of your energy if you so desire to do it. Day 5, it's just going to be simply, hey, we're gonna load up, and we're gonna unfortunately leave Estes Park, drive back to Denver to catch our flights home, but we'll talk on this day about, hey, what we're doing next year. So the plan is we're going to meet again in February, March 2025. So 2025 will be the year, hopefully, of 2 meetings where we'll do a kind of a late winter, early spring meeting, and then a fall meeting too.
Exciting stuff lined up. I mean, 2024, Estes Park, Rocky Mountain National Park, really, really exciting stuff through and through. And, I got to say, Dr. Mormon and Dr. Van Hoven, it's really exciting to see also, the vendor partners that are engaged in this vision to empower independence and, connect with doctors in a way that has never been done, right? To be able to have these very organic business conversations, but also to be able to connect in these destinations like America's National Parks is just absolutely outstanding. So, well, look, I know we've got some really cool things to jump into here regarding trunk shows and such. So we'll keep on motoring through here, and I'll go ahead and Dr. Mormon, let you kind of introduce Dr. Van Hoven, and you guys kind of run the conversation here.
Yep.
All right.
If you'll flip to the next one, Eric. Yeah, I'm gonna let Pete kind of take over for a little bit. Y'all been listening to me for a good bit. Just to remind you, if you weren't on the last call, Pete and I kind of came up with this idea of GRT years ago, driving from Horseshoe Bend up in northern Arizona down to the South Rim. We just talked about how cool it would be to have a meeting in national parks, and that nobody was doing it. So like I said, everything that you could learn about frame shows, Pete's done. Pete's tried out. They're kind of the master of doing these. So what I learned about frame shows, I learned from Pete, and we just wanted to really bring this to the group, and that these can be super impactful to your practice. So Pete, I'm gonna let you take it over from here.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, absolutely. You said you just finished a show, right?
We did. We had a frame show. We had Tom Ford and LaFont were our frame vendors. And then instead of having a out and out, well, I asked Miranda to come in to represent the sunglasses. She couldn't, so we had our box of sunglasses in. We just put them out on a table right out front and just basically sold them right off the table.
Oh man, that's awesome.
They just come out of the box. So like wearing your sunglasses, catching a fish right out of the ocean and cooking it up that night. We were selling them right out of the box. They were going so fast. So.
That's great. That is great. So did you do it in all of your offices or just one?
Just one, but then that was our main office. And the next week he had a different office, and the following week one of the other offices.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, we'll do one week, offset them a little bit. That's right. So, hey, is Eric driving the slides?
Yes, he is.
Okay. All right. Got it. So Eric, yeah. So we've been doing frame sales now, I guess, for probably 19, almost 20 years. And it was one of those deals where my partner said, "Hey, let's look at doing something to kind of boost some revenues a little bit." Historically, September was a little slower month for us from after everybody went back to school, and then usually say March was typically a little slower. February, March a little slower. Kind of got through the holidays, that sort of thing, and we'd have these little lulls early on. And so we said, let's try to boost some revenues. Let's try to do a frame sale. So we started out, and it's just kind of evolved from there into what is now a very much anticipated event by our patients. And really, they bring friends in and colleagues at work, and they come over and help them pick out frames. And it's just kind of evolved into this kind of a community event almost, and a true thing that people really look forward to. So it's they start asking us when we finish one when our next one is. So. But so I'll walk through, and just to be in the interest of everyone's time, I know we, I'll go through these bullet points, at a decent pace. But also know that to any of the group, the GRT members that are interested in more detail, that sort of thing, if I kind of gloss over something, they're just curious, I'm always available to sit down with them, walk them through it, do a Zoom call, powwow, brainstorm with them on different ideas for their offices. So happy to do that anytime. So, but so basically, like any kind of thing, basic strategy, you just got to create a plan, and that's so important with these. You can't just throw these together at the seat of your pants. If you got a nice game plan and then you can implement and execute it. And then just kind of, review it, revise it. And so we'll get into some of that. So, Eric, if you want to go ahead and work toward the next slide there for me. So what we're going to cover here is just kind of developing understanding optical trunk show, how its success can benefit the practice, identify the members' role in the show and the event, select the date, theme, in the vendors for the event, touch on food and decor, plan for efficiency and flow through the office, and then just kind of discuss discounts, insurance, how to manage all that piece of it, because that get tricky. It's just some things to think about as you're working through your frame sale to try to help you avoid maybe a few pitfalls along the way with that. So, but the big thing here is kind of set some realistic expectations, which is kind of hard to do on your first one. You kind of have to gauge it and just kind of say, hey, this would be a great bump in production if we can do this on this day. And then, you make this a fun thing for you, your staff, your vendors, your patients, and just make it, like I said, make it an event. So that's the big key there. Don't make it stuffy. Have a lot of fun. Everybody's laughing and carrying on, and really enjoying the fashion of eyewear as well as the excitement of picking out a frame. So one of the biggest things there is, like I said, kind of alluded to it earlier, is just kind of picking your date, your time, those sorts of things. So when you're thinking about this, kind of look for a time of year where your production's a little bit slower, where you know that, hey, this would be a great little shot in the arm to boost production to get us through for the next 3 or 4 weeks, whatever the case may be. Because when we do our shows now, I mean, we'll do in a day what we will do in a week's production typically. So it's now an all-day event. When we first started these things years ago, we would start out, and we would still see patients all day long. One of the docs would see patients, and we wouldn't even start the frame show till in the afternoon. And as it grew and as it evolved, it turned into an all-day event, and then we would still see a few patients. But then now it's just where if we got a red eye or an emergency or something like that, we'll see those folks. But the rest of it's all hands on deck. We're all running around managing and making sure that everybody's needs are being met, patients are being cared for, spoken to,
things of that nature, and just kind of, like I said, hosting events like a big party in your office. But the docs, you're going to kind of oversee it, and you're going to find a couple of key people in your office that are going to take the leadership role on this. You know who those people can be, or maybe some up and comers that you feel like would be good leaders. It'd be a great opportunity to develop a leadership aspect in some of those folks. Let them take the lead on this. And like I said, what we've got here is really a playbook. So this is not going to be hard for someone who's new to this to do, or someone who wants to really develop into a leader within your office. But you want to start the planning process, at least 4 months in advance. Ours, we do 6 months in advance. Basically, as soon as we finish one, we're planning the next one, because it takes that long to get it all pulled together the way we do them. But yeah, it's a minimum of 4 months for your first show should be plenty. You want to be also think about the time of year when you're doing your dates. Try not to coordinate with spring break, things like that, where people are going to be gone in your area. Holidays where people are going to be traveling. Schools are going to be out, stuff like that, where people may not want to come by, or they're not going to be in their normal routine, and they wouldn't be able to cut out of work a little earlier, come over during lunch because they got a family thing going on with their kids being home from school, things of that nature. So be mindful of surrounding dates that maybe you're looking at. So go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
And just, as we're talking about transitioning and, transition part of GRT, when you bring in a new associate, these frame sales are the greatest time to introduce them to patients.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Just have them sit right out front, introducing themselves as patients walk in the door. That way, then if they call in and they call in and say, I want to see Dr. Van Hoven, and, you can't see Pete for, 3 or 4 weeks, but, Dr. Engel is available, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh yeah, I met him at the frame sale and he was great and super nice. So great way to get your new associate or partner involved in the office.
Absolutely. 100%. And they can even help lead on this with some of your key team members and be involved 100%. They can be out. That's one of the things we've done. We've had our younger ODs out there kind of meeting and greeting and chatting and helping people try on frames and giving their opinion as to what they think of the frame and that sort of stuff as well. And kind of giving it from a perspective of how the frame actually fits them, where their eyes positioned in the frame, those sorts of things, if that frame's going to be a good fit for their prescription and their face from that perspective as well. Because a lot of people get going to the fashion piece of it, but sometimes they don't necessarily realize that they're looking through the top of the frame and their optical centers are going to be way off and really difficult with certain prescriptions. So just things to think about there. But great idea, Paul. And that's one of the things we do. I just failed to mention that, but that's awesome. So kind of like I said, pick a time. We did ours in the afternoon to start out, and then it becomes an all-day event. Normally we start patients at 7 o'clock in the morning every day. Obviously we don't start our frame sales on frame sale day at 7 o'clock, and we usually start those at about 9 o'clock. Once you've chosen your date and your time, go ahead and procure your vendors and go ahead and get them to commit to your event so they can pencil that in on their schedules and clear the schedules to be in town. We'll have reps coming from Atlanta or Chicago, things like that. So they need to be planned well in advance so they can kind of coordinate a loop into Middle Tennessee. They've got other accounts and come do a frame sale and then go on and visit the other accounts while they're in town, make best use of their time, but also get a great vendor. But as you think about your vendors, really think about your vendors who are going to really engage with your patients, who are have those really outgoing personalities that are going to be really out front, not just kind of standing there by the frames and looking at their phone or, just not really engaged. You want somebody who's going to really support you, your patients, your practice, and help you, because it really does. When it gets busy like that, it's all hands on deck, because we'll have, 30, 40 people in our optical at times looking at eyewear, and it can get a little hectic if you've got, 15 staff and 4 frame vendors and things of that nature. So anyway, so just again, think about, choose your vendors wisely when it comes to that. And you'll learn, some of them will say they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then they don't follow through. So maybe you take them off the list for the future and find another frame vendor that was going to support you like you hope or anticipated to be supported. So also think about just not frame vendors, but other vendors such as contact lens vendors. We always lean on our vendors, and they're more than willing to pay for a lot of our food and decor and door prizes and things like that we give away. So they'll bring in breakfast for the staff. They'll bring, chicken minis, whatever the case may be. They'll bring in lunch for the staff. A lot of times we cook. Dr. Young, he's a big cook, and so he'll, if we do a Mardi Gras theme, he's cooking up jambalaya. Or if we do a Titans tailgate for the Tennessee Titans, he's out with his smoker doing barbecue, and he's fantastic as his barbecue. So he'll smoke sausage and brisket and butts and that sort of thing. So we serve food that way. So again, you can kind of think, but a lot of times we'll lean on our vendors to pay for those foods, so that the practice itself is not coming out of pocket for that. So don't hesitate, because a lot of those vendors have a budget they can spend to support your office, whether they're buying your lunch, breakfast like they normally do, things of that nature. But definitely reach out to them. Think again about door prizes, other vendors that can support you. Think about your lab, for example. Don't hesitate to ask your lab for free progressive lenses or free anti-glare coatings for 40 jobs. Obviously, you're going to still sell the anti-glare coating, but the practice is getting those 40 anti-glare coatings for free. And then you can also do some door prizes as well from the labs for free progressives and things of that nature. One of the things we do with our vendors, kind of their quote unquote price of admission, in addition to hopefully, outside of the frame vendors, we require them to give us one of their frames for free. And so when we do when the patients, and we'll get a little bit more into this, choose their frame, they then go into the discount portion of it. We always require they choose a frame first before they learn to determine what their discount is going to be on their frame. And so we'll have 4 to 5 free frames, and those are all donated by the vendors. So again, it's not costing the practice anything, but the patient's getting a free frame when they pick that particular pop a balloon or pick a pumpkin out of the patch for Halloween themed event. And the pumpkin's worth 100% off, that sort of stuff. So again, just little ways to save the practice money, but also reward the patients handsomely. And there's always a big celebration when people get the 100% off. It's a lot of fun, a bunch of hooping and hollering. So and like Paul mentioned, you can marry your event to the introduction of a new line, like they did with their sunglass line. Is it Baheo, Paul? Is that correct?
Still not 100% sure.
I think it's Baheo, I believe.
My attention span is short these days. So
but also another thing that we've done with a lot of success is patients of ours that have small businesses. We've got some that make jewelry, that make candles, that have specialty chocolates, cupcakes, cookies, things of that nature. We always invite them to come to our shows, or at least one of them, not all of them, but we rotate them. And they'll set up a table, and they can either sell their wares or sample their wares, things of that nature, and helps them to spread the word about their business. So it's there's some goodwill there too, because they're going to refer friends in, obviously, of that nature. So it's kind of that give and take, reciprocal, scratch your back, scratch my back type thing. So think about gift bags that you can give away. We always prepare goodie bags. So once a patient has completed their purchase, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that piece of it, we give them a goodie bag, and it's got, all of our logos and, branded materials, that sort of stuff, along as well as gift cards, $5 gift card for Starbucks or things like that. We'll do little things like that. Again, lean on your vendors to help support you in creating your goodie bags, your giveaway bags, that sort of stuff. Lens cloth spray. We've all got that in office, but we just package that together as also a thank you for the purchase. Well, as well as giving them a sincere thank you for their purchase. So, but hopefully that covers some of the vendors, the key points there as far as who you're selecting, how you're selecting, leaning on them to really support you in your practice in multiple different ways. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say something I learned from Pete early on when he first told me about this is, Matt, just be creative with what you do. One of our last ones, not this most recent one, but I guess it would be last fall. We invited a bunch of food trucks to come into our parking lot. So it's easy when you have your own building or your own lot, where you can do this. But we had 3 or 4 3 or 4 food trucks, and we just told them to count up, what they, people that came up and ordered some food, or we had an ice cream truck. We just had some fun stuff. So we try to encourage people to bring their kids. Not that you want a bunch of kids running around there, but you don't want somebody not coming because they have kids. Mm-hmm. So it was just really fun, and we got creative with that. What we learned is people really didn't eat a lot of food. They just but it was cool to have it. We invited some of our local first responders. So we have a firehouse right down the street. We invited them to come, and all of our patients. We invited one of our patients, a paramedic. We said, hey, if you got some friends that want to come over and just eat. You don't even have to pick out frames, just come over. So it's a great way to get some good community publicity too, of support for your community, because that's what we're all about too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you saw in the chat, but Miranda spelled it out for us. It's Baheo. Thank you, Miranda. We'll get it right. So, I think, yeah, I don't know, but Paul and I both had Baggio for it stuck in our head for a while, but it's Baheo. So, oh, man. But yeah, Paul, that's a great point. When you talk about having your office, one of the things we learned early on is we share space with a dentist. It's one building, and the dentist has about 2,500 square feet. We've got 5,000 or so, and we weren't even thinking about it, but we scheduled a big trunk show, or as they grew, on the day the dentist was there. Well, we learned, we're like, hey, he's not there on Thursdays, so we started doing them on Thursdays because he wasn't there, and it wasn't disrupting his business or his patient flow or his patient's access to his office. So be mindful of that if you share space or with another professional or anybody, any small business. If you can, give them a heads up. If nothing else, hey, we're going to run this trunk show from noon to 4 or whatever. We apologize ahead of time. We're going to try to be respectful of you and your space and kind of keep patients away. But just give them a heads up, and it's hopefully they'll be gracious with you in that scenario. Our space worked out great because the dentist wasn't there, so we could take up the whole parking lot. It didn't matter. But just something to think about as you do these, grow them, that sort of stuff. So as far as marketing goes, we, again, kind of along the theme, our staff's pretty talented. I'm sure a lot of you have, people who are artistically inclined in your office, family members, things of that nature. So we would create these flyers, theme-based. And like I said, whether it was Halloween, trunk show, Mardi Gras, you name it, we've done it. We've come up with all sorts of different stuff. And the staff always dresses up, and the doctors too, for, Mardi Gras theme type party. Or Titans trunk show, we'd all wear Titans jerseys and stuff like that. So you can kind of take it and go with it. We did a casino night where there were a casino theme where there were roulette wheels, and we had a money machine, and we made up dollar bills with the logo and everything on there. And but we would put off the 100% off or 50% off or 25% off. And so we would put people in the money machine we rented, and we'd have all these dollar bills flying there, and whatever they grabbed out, and however many they grabbed in, I don't know, it was 30 seconds, whatever the highest discount was, is what they got. It's very patient-centric, patient-friendly. We always had a lot of fun doing it. We've done beanbag toss. I mean, you name it. Goodness gracious, we've done all sorts of crazy stuff. But like I said, Paul said, be as creative as you can. Think of a theme and make it a lot of fun. Patients love this stuff. As far as marketing goes, we create the flyers. We just, like a lot of us, we know those patients who are key patients who are going to come in and who are going to spend. So we're not excluding anybody, but we specifically target market to people who, through running sorts in our practice management, who tend to buy eyewear from us, and we send out flyers specifically to them. Then you've also got the patients that, come in and buy, 8 glasses, 8 frames and sets of lenses in a year. And so we'll handwrite notes to them, personal invitations, inviting them. You can consider even giving them a private viewing before the show gets started, things of that nature, if you want to just kind of do a little extra touch point with those particular folks who really are faithful to the practice, support your practice, and really lean into your staff and you and the office. So think of that as well. We also have gotten to the point where we'll run Facebook ads, paid Facebook ads, other social media, 7 to 10 days prior. The thing you have to be mindful of, at least for us, because we have such a buildup, such an anticipation that we're going to be doing these shows. So certain people know about when they're going to be, but we also, when we got patients in the office, 4 to 6 weeks out, we don't want to cannibalize people who are ready to purchase that day. So we try not to do too much internal marketing or really external marketing outside of a month for sure. And then within the office, we usually put the flyers up, things like that, a little closer to the date, again, so that we don't cannibalize on people who are actively looking to pursue a purchase that day. So again, some of them will learn and they'll wait, and that's fine. Again, there's some goodwill that goes along with it because you are giving some nice discounts on frames on that day. But as we get into the discounts, you'll see how we kind of do that as well. So it's not like you're just losing lots of revenue. You're creating a great amount of revenue and a lot of buzz and a lot of referrals. It's amazing the number of people that got referred into our practice over the years because of the frame sales. So And this is another thing that Paul mentioned too, is, your new doc, if you've got a new associate in there, as your frame shows grow, you're going to need somebody to help you with flow, because it comes in, it's a bit overwhelming. You come in out of the parking lot and there's, 50 people standing around, staff, patients looking. It's just kind of hectic. Then patients aren't really sure what to do or where to go. So you're going to need somebody to direct traffic, because a lot of times the people at the front desk may be checking people out, answering the phone, things like that. So you'll need somewhat of a door greeter, if you will, that can help you kind of help those folks say, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's where you need to go. When you get over to this side, then they're going to coach you through the whole process. You'll have kind of a flow established within your office. And it'll take some tweaking, as you go through that. But you want to kind of do a little bit of a huddle beforehand, make sure everybody's all on the same page as you're getting ready to start your show a few minutes prior. And also ask your frame vendors to be there an hour, maybe even an hour and a half prior to the show, so they can set up the tables, get everything, all the frames displayed like they want to. If there's any decor that you or the staff wants to place on their tables, or they want to bring to go along with the theme, do that as well. We use our dispensing tables. Also, we have 6-foot folding tables that we'll set up for the frame vendors, and they'll usually take up quite a bit of space when they bring everything. I know, Paul, you do sunglass sales sometimes. We'll do those in the spring. We usually incorporate ophthalmics as well as suns just all together. We'll tell the vendors to bring both if they rep both. We have done sunglass sales in the spring. They're good, but people always want the ophthalmics. So the couple times we tried just doing sunglass sales in the spring, people were like, hey, wear the regular glasses. And of course, they're welcome to anything on the frame boards, but they, it seems to. So over time, it's more of a true ophthalmic frame sale, and sunglasses are kind of an ancillary piece for us, where, we'll have the Maui Gym rep there, or, the Baheo rep, those sorts of things can come in, and Miranda can help you out there. But, again, we do have our key partners that we look to support. And so those are great ideas there as well. But for whatever reason, we try to do just straight up sunglasses. The folks always wanted the ophthalmics as well. So we just incorporate both when we do our frame sales now. So here, let's get into a little bit how we do that. So I kind of alluded to it in that once a patient customer has made their selection of the frame, then we allow them to pop the balloon for the discount, and that's always kind of exciting, because they pop the balloon, it makes a noise. Everybody pauses to see what kind of a discount came flying out of the balloon. We have to scramble around and look for the little tag that's rolled up in the balloon. So it goes flying across the room and to find out what the discount was. But, again, you've got the money machine, you've got roulette wheel, you've got, beanbag toss, you've got all sorts of different things that you can do. Pumpkin patches, where they pick a pumpkin that's got candy in it, and in the bottom there's a discount taped in the bottom, so they're getting a little bit of some candy and other sundries, as well as their discount taped in there. So that they choose a frame, get their discount. Then we have an area where in the back we use the exam lanes. We've got 7 lanes along the back, and then the opticians or one of the other staff members working with the patient, once they've chosen their frame, they then exit the optical area and they go to the back where it's calmer. They can sit in the exam room, either door open or door closed, with a staff member, and kind of walk through, okay, here's your discount. Here's what your vision plan provides. And so when it comes to the frame, we give the patient whichever is the better discount. If it was the discount they got by popping the balloon, or whatever discount they get from their insurance, VSP, whatever the case may be, whatever dollar amount's great for the patient, we honor that. And then the lens benefit is the lens benefit, unless by chance they got a door prize, they gave them some free lenses or free anti-glare or things of that nature. Then we honored that as well. We tallied up all the staff's trained to do all the measurements. We've got automated measuring. We've got, the old traditional hand, look straight ahead and we'll mark your lenses, that sort of stuff. But we've got pupillometers in all the rooms, those sorts of things. So, or you can do with the iPad, some of the new software there that enables you to do the measurements you need there as well. So gather all that data. The person that works with the patient then allows them to go put their name to a bowl for door prizes that we're going to draw at the end of the day. We've got several, again, door prizes. We've given away big green eggs. We've done all sorts of stuff with these things. And, but I would also tell you to avoid any confusion, that when you're marketing your event, make sure that it's stated that clearly stated that the insurance will be applied and discounts offered, as plain stated. But to avoid any complications, misunderstanding, that you can't combine both the discount and your insurance. It's one or the other. so that people aren't caught off guard by that. We had that happen a couple times years ago. We said, okay, obviously that's on us. We've got to make that right, and clearly state it on the front end. So it states on all of our flyers, any of our marketing we do, it in a little asterisk down at the bottom, it talks about that. So always, give them when the trunk shows are done, because when the volume is so high, the lab gets backed up. So we're going to tell them minimum of 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 if there's a frame that's on back order. If we find out after the fact, we go to order the frame, then we found some back order. We obviously always call the patient and say, hey, unfortunately, the frame's going to be back on back order for a month. Do you still want it? If you do, great. If not, we'll refund your money for the frame if they don't want to wait 4 weeks or 6 weeks. It's rare that happens, but again, we're always mindful of that. Let the patient know that on the front end, but we pretty much tell them it's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks. And generally speaking, that's a pretty good turn time for pretty much all of the jobs. There's the one-offs that just, it delays. You're going to get a few patients that call you up the next day, or they're going to go home later that day and they're going to talk to their spouse, and they're going to call back and go, hey, I think I want to cancel my order. You're going to have a couple of those that for this, that, or the other reason, buyer's remorse sets in, and they're going to cancel, and that's okay. You just graciously say absolutely understood, and refund them their money, and it's just part of it. But again, that just happens. So just kind of anticipate that you'll find a couple of those here and there that do drop off, unfortunately. And again, like I said earlier, just a sincere thank you, because it's a lot of times people will come in and they'll be in your office for a couple hours looking at frames, and sometimes it's because it's so busy that you can't get to them. You acknowledge them, but you can't get to them because you're just covered up with other folks. You can also encourage people to, if kind of when we always were really super busy at lunchtime because people take off work, take off a little early. So we'll encourage people to say, hey, if you want to avoid the busy times, come at 9 when we first get going, or at 10:30 where it's going to be a little slower. You come around lunch, just anticipate, you're going to wait a little bit, because there is usually a big rush there. And also toward the latter part of the show, interestingly enough, just when we think we're going to wrap up, 10 people come rolling through the door. So just be mindful of those sorts of things. See if you can find a pattern there. So
Hey,
Paul,
hey, Pete. Hey, yeah, Pete. So we were talking about you don't want to jump in too soon to let people know what's going on, because you don't want somebody that's going to purchase, like you said, 2 to 3 weeks before to say, well, I'll just wait till your frame show.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be ready for those that say, well, I can't come in on the day that you're going to do it. So we usually extend it for 1 to 2 days after for those
Mm-hmm.
that decide, that can't come in on the day of the show because they're out of town. We all have a lot of people that travel, or,
Yes.
they've got stuff with their kids. They got something going on. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to limit it to just the people that can come in that day, but you have to select those parameters and stick to them. Otherwise you can, kind of get into a mess.
Yeah, you can.
As Pete said too, what before we do any frame sale, we spend the day before we block off about 2 hours for lunch, and we do a customer service talk. So we're talking about, all right, so everybody that walks in the door, you say hello to them. So it doesn't matter what you're doing at that point in time. You stop what you're doing and just say, hey, how are you doing? We'll be right with you. And then, so at least they're, hopefully getting that hello right when they walk in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do the same thing as they're leaving. So we say, doesn't matter what you're doing, just stop and say, thanks, have a great day. Appreciate you coming in. Thanks for supporting our practice, whatever it may be. That is what makes us different than everybody else. So sorry to cut in. I just want to.
No, that's a great point. And along those lines, we'll have patients call up and say, hey, I can't get there. I can't be there. Can you pop a balloon for me? Or can you pick a pumpkin out of the patch, or whatever the case may be? And the staff will pull one aside or set it aside before the show. And then the patient will come in, and we'll just have the balloon waiting for them. They'll come in 3 days later, and we'll pop the balloon with them. And unfortunately, they have to look at frames on the frame board because the vendors are gone at that point. But yes, and sometimes they'll come in beforehand and say, hey, I want this frame. They're going to choose a frame ahead of time. And then the day of, we'll pop the balloon for them. We'll call them, say, hey, all right, we're going to pop your balloon. Here's what it is. And, and then we'll do it right on the phone with them. We'll go ahead and they'll pre-measure them, obviously. And then at that point, it's just really the transaction, the monetary transaction to wrap up the deal. But yes, absolutely. That's right. And, the goodbyes and the hellos are perfect. And we do that, just in general. It's funny because, when you go to a doctor's office, you walk out, you walk past the tech station, just your primary care physician, and most people don't really speak to you. You leave you finish up with the doc, and they're like, "Oh, go get your blood drawn," and you just walk past everybody. Nobody really speaks. Same thing in our office. Anytime anybody walks by the tech desk on any day, any given day, somebody's saying goodbye to them. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And it always takes people. They're like, "Who were they talking to me?" It always kind of shocks them when you do that. So it's no different than at the frame sale or just everyday clinic. Absolutely. So. Couple things too in regards to after the show. So you want to what we did, because you're exhausted because you're on your feet the whole day. It's a hectic day. You come back the next day, and again, rather than starting clinic at 7 a.m., we delay it by a couple hours. We'll start at 9. The staff still comes in at 7, but it gives them just a couple of calm hours to, particularly the folks in optical, to get the lab orders kind of squared away, straightened up, and process that sort of stuff. They do a lot of that the night before too, but then they can go ahead and finish up, wrap up, and then they're not getting bombarded with patients coming through the clinic right out of the gate looking for glasses or eyewear, being checked out, things of that nature. So it gives your optical staff, just everybody, a chance to breathe the next morning to kind of get their bearings about them. There's plenty to do. We usually do our setup the night before, as far as decor goes. After we wrap up clinic for that afternoon, we'll all stay 30, 40 minutes, move chairs out of the waiting area, set up food tables, just kind of get our general setup, tablecloths, decor, that sort of stuff. So that way we're pretty well ready to go the next morning, other than helping the vendors get set up, doing our huddle prior to the show. And so anyway, and then like I said, we delay clinic a little bit the next morning. And then also one thing you might be thinking about too is probably, I don't know, a week or two after the show, after you've kind of gotten the dust has settled, you've kind of back do a staff meeting. We do staff meetings weekly, but maybe wait a week or two. And then just review your processes and think about what could we have done better? What was our penetration on anti-glare? How many, blue light? What was it specifically were you trying to increase sales on? Was it more transitions? Was it second pairs? Was it prescription suns? How'd you do? What could you have done better? Look at those metrics. Also think about the processes. Were there people standing around too long? Just because it was so busy, how can you try to help or get more people engaged to help the folks that are kind of standing there? They've chosen their frame, but now they're waiting to move to the back to be, measured and to, talked about options as far as, anti-glare and blue light and those sorts of things. So just look at your processes and figure out where you can tweak things, make things a little bit better. And then, again, how's your revenue? Was it worth it? Those sorts of things. Time for patient for each transaction was somebody in the back just talking way too much, one of your staff members, because they knew the patient and you had 4 of the people, they were just spending way too much time talking about, this, that, and the other, their vacation they were getting ready to take, things of that nature. Well, it's important to engage the patient. Obviously, you got a lot of people waiting, you got to keep moving. So there's not a lot of time for visiting when you're that busy. So helping people be mindful of how much time they spend in the transaction and just being cognizant of also not rushing people through so they don't feel hurt and they didn't get to make the choices they wanted to make, or the questions that they had to ask that they didn't get answered because you're pushing them either. So, but again, just little things to think about. Like I said, covering it a high level view here, but trunk shows are one of those things. It takes a little while to tweak your process and to do it, but these things work. These things, they really do. On average, we'll usually do $90,000 to $100,000 gross production in a day. That's our typical trunk show when we do them now. When we first did them, I think our first trunk show was $8,000. So it's definitely grown a bit. So, and then as far as we always reward our staff, we'll take them to dinner. We'll set up a night after the show. We'll take them all to dinner. We'll go together, celebrate. We generally give them cash, $200 to $300 after the show for each staff member for working. And they work hard. They really do. There's nobody sitting around looking at their phone. They're all engaged. They're all working. They can't sit around. There's not time to. And you can nudge them if you need to get up and get going. But they always appreciate the cash reward and very thankful and appreciative of it. Sometimes we will give our optical staff a little bit more, simply because the time, effort, and energy that they go to, your leaders, all the work that they put into prepping for the show. It's a lot of time and energy reaching out to these vendors, getting things buttoned up, making sure all the food, everything's squared away. It's a lot. So a lot of times we'll give them a little extra because of the effort that they put into it. So that's it in a nutshell. You gentlemen have any questions? Things that you thought of that I missed?
No, Pete, we talked about this a little bit before the very first GRT summit we had, because we had this whole session on you know, what you can do to make money when you're not in the practice.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, because, you know, yes, it's great if the doctor's there and they're meeting and greeting everybody,
Sure. Yeah.
but you don't have to be there. I
No.
mean, you're the one that told me that. You're the one that told me that, hey, the doctor, they don't really care if you're there necessarily, because they're there to look at frames and talk to people. So this is we're nowhere near where Pete and Kenny and those guys are at, but our most recent show, we did 4 times a normal day's revenue. So, you know, you got to think about, if you're going to go out of town to the GRT Summit, for example, hopefully you're going to be there, and you're going to miss 4 days. Have a frame show while you're gone, because you're going to make money while you're not there.
1,000%.
And it's a great way to empower your staff and get them excited about, you know, what they can do to make the practice better. You know, it's such a cool thing. And like you said, everybody has fun. I mean, we have so much fun during these events. We've echoing what Pete said, you just got to keep doing it. You know, if your first one is kind of a bust, or you don't do as much as you think, just try it again. You know, try it at a different time, try it a different day. You know, we traditionally do ours like 10 to 3, because we have a lot of moms that are picking up kids, dropping them kids off, picking them up, and they've got after school activities. So we found that 10 to 3 is very successful. Now, when we still go longer, because there's some people that want to skip out of work early and come in at the end of the day, but you know, you just got to figure out which works, and you don't figure that out until you start doing it, you know. And like I said, Pete's the master. So, you know, all these slides, you know, we went through them, you know, quickly, but they're all going to be online. So, and we're going to talk about this at the summit, and we'll hopefully have another GRT event where we talk about making money when you're out of the office, and we'll kind of revisit some of these things, because as we learned from Chris Roden and Ryan Powell, there's a whole lot of things you can do when you're not in the office. And I think that we just like worry about going places, or we worry about going to meetings, because it's like, well, we're going to have decreased revenue, but there's so many things you can do and still make money when you're not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of cool, like I said, because not only you're not there, you're enjoying your vacation, you're enjoying out of the office, but you're empowering your staff to take the initiative to make money when you're not being there. And that's what we all want ultimately.
That's right. That's exactly right. So,
well, Dr. Paul Mormon, Dr. Pete Van Hoven, I tell you what, GRT Summit 2024, shaping up to be an amazing event. And I tell you what, Dr. Van Hoven, this session you just went through regarding, you know, frame show and making that a success, I see this being a really big conversation there in Estes Park, in Rocky Mountain, at GRT Summit. So really, really great workshop. So gentlemen, before we send off, any closing remarks? I know registration is open, grtsummit.com. We've got we're filling up, it seems, by the week. Any other final closing remarks before we send off?
No, it's going to be a great event. I'm sure the number of vendors, it's amazing. It's super exciting how many people are coming on board and wanting to participate in this event. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great event for everybody.
And it's going to be great, because we're going to be able to involve all of them. And the cool thing is that not only do the vendors get to promote their own businesses, but they get to help the other vendor friends promote their business, because it's all collaboratively a great event. So hope you learned a lot tonight. Hope you're excited about independent optometry. Hope you just love the idea of GRT, and just we hope we see you out in Estes Park and in the future.
Yes,
let's do it.
Thank you, Eric.
See you all at the summit.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. See you. Good night, everybody.